Hi, this is Jeff Johnston, host of the Living Undeterred podcast powered by Brightn, and today we have a very special show. I was looking forward to this. Initially, I was thinking of what roads I wanted to go down and how I wanted to kind of talk about certain things, and everyone got here and we said, let's just sit back and have a conversation about mental health. And that's really what the whole show is about, and also about what we're doing with Brightn, having conversations, and that's really how we're going to right this sinking ship. So what I'm going to do, everyone knows me. I'm not going to really go through introducing who I am, but if you don't know me, I'm the CEO and founder of Brightn. In my previous life, I ran a wealth management firm in Cedar Rapids called Premier Investments of Iowa. And the goal of the podcast has always been to bring in inspiring stories, inspiring people, and talk a lot about resilience and ultimately living undeterred. So that's the setup. I am going to be very generous and have Emily go last. So some of us have been doing a lot of these podcasts. For some of us, it's a little bit new. So I'm going to start with Tice on the right, and just introduce yourself, a little bit about what you do and why you ended up here in this chair.
Absolutely. This is my first podcast, I must say, and this is the first Brightn roundtable. So I'm honored that the very first podcast gets to be this little.
It's the first time we've all been in the same room together.
It has been, because we've worked together. So I joined the Brightn team back, I think around April, March of last year. So like I know Emily from like all the Zoom calls we've had over basically a year now, and this is the first time like meeting in person and having everyone like in the same room together. So it's super exciting. A little bit about my story. So I'm actually born and raised in the Iowa area. So I went to school with Carson. I went to school with Seth. So that's kind of my attachment to this. My background is in film and advertising. I went to the Savannah College of Art and Design and studied advertising there. Post-graduation, I moved up to New York, worked at an ad agency for a bit, and then was doing my own business. So doing a lot of marketing and video production. Did that for, the last 10 years, essentially. And left that current partnership in business, and then was looking for new opportunities. And it just so happened that Carson, he and I connected when I was in town. My sister still lives here and she just had a baby. So my niece was born. She just turned 1 this year. We connected, and Carson was telling me all about Brightn and Jeff's story and like what he's been working on. I'm like, that's really cool. And he's like, well, we need help with marketing. So I was like, I'm looking to transition and I'm looking for some more marketing work. So yeah. And then obviously like I grew up playing basketball. I grew up at Prairie. So I knew Seth from class and stuff. So hearing Jeff's story and everything, I just felt like this was like a really perfect fit, perfect timing. So joined the team back then, and it's been great ever since.
Yeah, it's amazing how the pieces are all kind of coming together, and everybody's got, you're only a few conversations away from meeting someone that knows somebody. What's it, 6 degrees of separation, I think they say.
It's a very small world.
Yeah, because I keep forgetting that you knew Seth, back. Crazy how it works out.
We're talking about like the basketball thing. Like I grew up playing that basketball league, whereas like all the kids from the different Prairie elementary schools, like wearing different branded T-shirts of companies that sponsor.
And I was coaching Premier Investments, and he was on the team.
So no doubt we were on like a court together at some point, and that like, you were there. I know Seth was there. Carson was there. And that we were all in like a room together. We just didn't know then where we would be now, which is pretty crazy.
It is crazy. Carson, I coached you, so let's don't talk about 5th grade basketball, but
I was him back in the
You were a lockdown defender. Carson was always good for 3 quick fouls. I know that.
No, I'm Carson. I'm responsible for bringing a lot of the technology to life at Brightn. My background, for the folks that are listening, has been very entrepreneurial my whole career. I actually studied finance at the University of Iowa, and came up with my first sort of technology-enabled business while there, and decided to pursue that full-time after I graduated. I also spent 10 years in the military, in the Army, both prior service and as an officer in the United States Army. And, in that sort of community, we don't talk about mental health. Right. A lot of my friends and peers that went on deployments came back with a lot of issues, PTSD, didn't talk about them and didn't deal with them the right way. And the ones that did and were open about it, got the help that they needed, but also like inspired others in their team to actually go out and get the help when they were vocal about seeing a therapist and getting that help. And, so with my first company, we kind of got thrown into the mix. So this was been 2020?
COVID.
Yeah. 2020 was a tough year for you and I.
Yeah.
And that's when the idea or the universe brought us back together, because you were still doing a podcast, still doing the Living Undeterred at the time, but it was a pretty fresh podcast.
Yeah.
And we kind of came together. Obviously, we grew up together as a family friend. You were, learned a lot from you, and
interned
I
with
looked
me
up.
for a while.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that I looked up to you about when I was growing up. I studied finance. There was probably an influence there. Seeing how you raised Seth and the kids and Prudence, and it's like the dream that everyone wanted to be around. So it was, so when you had this idea for the app and how we could help people improve their mental health, that is something that really drew me to the project, because I had my own struggles with mental health, both as a startup founder in the entrepreneurship sort of world, a lot of pressures to deal with, and then in the veteran community as well. And I come from a family that doesn't talk about mental health and stuff, and so thought this was an awesome opportunity to partner up on. So.
Awesome, yeah, appreciate it. We all have a personal mental health story that we can share later. So Emily, you were the first one.
Best for last.
Yes.
I had this crazy idea. I remember literally on a napkin, it's like, and Roman's like, start an app, Dad. I'm like, okay. The hell, how do you start an app?
It's as easy as that, on a napkin.
And that's like, well, I need help. I'll go to LinkedIn. I remember I threw out, I don't know how many applications I got coming in, and I was just random, and they're all pretty good. And somehow Emily, yours was like right there. And it's like the universe was pushing that application forward, but I ended up meeting with you on LinkedIn, and the rest is history.
Yeah. You said your only hesitation with me was I was a Chiefs fan.
That's right.
Yeah.
I'm a Steeler fan, so I had to get past that.
So, yeah. So for me, I had been teaching for a while. Pandemic hit, and we started teaching online. And that particular year was the hardest year of my career. Every single year, all the students would just get I don't want to say worse, but their stories were getting worse. I'm like, they're living with aunts and uncles. They're not living with their parents. They don't know if dad's coming back in the picture, back and forth, all these things. And their home lives were just horrible. And, the district really started to say, we have to do something for everyone. We have to start working on our mental health. And so we would teach them different strategies. It was all new to us. And I realized during that time, I'm like, how can I be teaching the kids this and like practically preaching, this is what you need to do when I'm not taking care of myself?
Yeah.
And it was when I started teaching from home that I realized, oh my gosh, I didn't take care of myself at all, because, you would stay after school, you have to grade papers, you have to prep for the next day. You're worried about certain students, are you documenting everything? It would be late. You go home, you'd sleep, and I'd be back there at 6 o'clock in the morning, because that's when my mind is fresh, and I would be working on it again. And so when the year came up that they said, okay, we're going back in the classroom, everybody has to wear a mask and teach all day with their mask on. I was just like, I was really hesitant to go back in, because I was like, I'm afraid of what it's going to do to me. I don't know if I'm going to make it. I had that breaking point. And so, it was just kind of this crossroad. I love teaching. I still do. I love all my students. I call them my kids. But I was like, well, maybe there's an online opportunity where I can still take care of myself and still, help out the kids. And I came across that position, and he was looking for an assistant. And I don't know if I knew it was an app at that time.
It wasn't even called Brightn.
Right.
It was called Illuminate. That was the name originally. Yep.
And you actually had shown me a sketch of what you were thinking, but like there was like an I for the Illuminate and like a bunch of different things. I wasn't exactly sure, but what I was drawn to was he was out there doing the work.
Yeah.
He was on a tour. He was talking to everyone. He was on podcasts. It wasn't the stigma, or it still was a stigma, but Jeff wasn't letting that get in the way. He was talking to everyone about it and making it really important. And I was just like, this is a project I can get behind. So I thought, hey, like, we'll contact him. We'll see how it goes, in 3 years, not days, 3 years later, here we still are. And I just like, obviously journeys are not linear at all,
No.
but there's so many times where I get brought back to the meaning of like what we're doing. And, just like we said the other day, that meeting we had with one of our investors, it's like, okay, we're doing a good thing. We're still making progress. And it's been quite the journey.
Yeah, there's little subtle reminders of how important this is. And when we were meeting with the investor and they made a comment that Brightn and the story comes up like in all their meetings, and they have, hundreds of portfolio companies. Mm-hmm. And so, that's great. I think we have the ability to open these doors, and now it's like the making sure that what we have built and presented is effective and working, and it is making a difference. I know we're making a difference already, and I feel like we're just scratching the surface, So I guess I'll just throw out an opening question. When it comes to the reasons why a lot of people are suffering, I think COVID was a big reason why. Comparison, when today with social media, it's easy to compare. I mean, I do it as a founder all the time. I see somebody that exited or somebody's raising all this money, and I'm like, why can't I do that? Mm-hmm. There's a lot of systemic, unhealthy aspects of that. And I think in combination of all the things going on with all the negativity out there today, social media, COVID, those are all the bad things. So as all people on the Brightn team, like, where do you think we need to like start? Like, do we need to go back to basics and just kind of start over, or use things like AI as our ally instead of an enemy? Where do you guys see us starting to get this thing going in the right direction?
Well, I think like from a societal perspective, Gen Z and millennials probably weren't set up for success, to be honest. Because if you think about older generations, I think like you with like, you're being a leader in the fact that you're being open, you're having these conversations, you're not letting a painful moment in your life define you, and you're repurposing that to, do more good. And I feel like older generations, the default was to like not have conversations about mental health, to like bury it down, don't talk about it. You're not like a man if you talk about your problems and stuff. And like that systematic issue that you've addressed, I think that is a big contributing factor, because, NAMI came out with a survey, this would have been a month or two ago, that's found about 56% of employees in a workforce don't feel comfortable having conversations around their mental health out of fear of judgment and stigma. And most of the executive team in these larger companies are
because you're
older.
My boss. I'm not going to come and say, hey, Carson, I've got these problems, thinking of hurting myself, and there's a promotion coming. I'm not going to probably get it. That's what I'm thinking.
But the encouraging thing about this younger generation with Gen Zs and millennials is they're a lot more open-minded to having conversations around wanting to improve their mental health, right? One of the stats that you say all the time is Gen Z had, for their New Year's resolution, the number one thing that they wanted to improve was their mental health. Just didn't see that in like past generations.
And that's a huge like applaud to that generation.
So there's this acknowledgement that, hey, it's important to work on your mental and your emotional capacity just as much as the physical. And I think that's where this, optimal mental wellness begins. And, you brought up AI too. And I think AI is an awesome opportunity to get help and get resources in the right way, if built and structured the right way.
So I've always philosophically struggled with this, is like, we have the most knowledge of any human generation ever. We have access to most information at the fingertips. The DSM is loaded with diagnosis and labels, and there's so many prescription pills out now. It's like, you would think, looking at the evidence, that you'd see these changes that people were doing, but it isn't working that way. So that's the conundrum I always had, is like, is there a point in time when there's a tipping point where you actually talk about this stuff too much? Like, you're talking about mental health too much, that it creates a bigger problem. I don't know the answer. I was going to throw that out, because I do know a lot of people that talk about certain things constantly, and I'm probably guilty as it as well. And all of a sudden you start to realize, man, maybe it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. The more I talk about, the more it comes true. So do you guys have any thoughts on that?
I think this is the first time too that the problems that we're facing like as like humankind has ever existed. The fact that, you know, social media didn't exist, you know, 10 years ago, AI didn't exist 3 years ago.
Yeah.
So I think it's really hard too, because this is the first time we've ever had to deal with like what we're dealing with. Because speaking on New Year's resolutions, like I was looking at mine, like the big one I want to work on is like screen time. Like the amount of time I spend on my phone is insane.
Yeah.
But that's a problem people didn't have 10 years ago, because we just started to get like iPod touches. We started to get like digital phones. Like it was brand new at the time. So I think too that it's more prevalent because the problems we face are like brand new and we don't know how to deal with them yet. Like we don't know how to deal with the fact that every single big company in the world is fighting for our attention. We have algorithms out there that are like dictating everything we see, everything we think. They're making us scroll for hours every single day. So I think all that is so fresh that it's like, I don't know what the answer is, but it's definitely been like a challenge. I'm trying to this year figure out, you know, how can like screen time alone just lower that, but just like get a better understanding of what the problem is. Like, is the problem talking about mental health? Is the problem, you know, not journaling enough? Is it not going to the gym enough? Is it eating right? Or is it, you know, trying to figure out like, how do I manage these things thrown at me? How do I manage AI? How do I manage social media? How do I manage, you know, Netflix dropping a really addicting series and I have 10 hours I want to spend watching that, you know, and I should be doing other things. So I think a lot of that's been hard to navigate for a lot of people.
I was talking to Emily the other day and I said, you know, because someone asked us what our competitors are. I hate that question. Our competitor in my mind is attention.
Yeah.
Is your attention. It's not TikTok. It's not Calm or Headspace or anybody else. We were talking about that the other day about people's attention. And do you feel that's a not just a Brightn issue, but a society issue?
Yeah. I mean, and I would say like, I'm one of the worst. Like I can't even watch a TV show now without scrolling.
Yeah.
I know. I used to make fun of my sons. Seth used to sit there, you know, on his phone or something. And Ian, I used to make fun of him. Now it's my computer, my phone, and TV. What the hell am I doing? This is insane.
I used to think that I was a multitasker. That's what I would call it.
None of us are good at it.
And I still thought I was. And then it's like, no, I don't have an attention span anymore. So I'm doing something while watching something to like justify watching. I don't know. It's just such a waste of time. But, you know, there's a few things that I was thinking of when you guys were talking. And I think what it comes down to is like, kind of like self-awareness with yourself or being right with yourself. I think that's where we have to start with everything. And that's why I liked your idea originally with this optimal wellness. I think dealing with anything in life, we have to like start with ourselves first. We have to love ourselves. We have to get right with ourselves. And then, I don't know, you can't say you can go out into the world, but I just think we would deal with things better if we're just like more self-aware with everything. Because I think that's like one of the hardest things is when I get the weekly report of how much screen time I had. I had no idea I was on my phone that much. What did I really do with my week? And then that's that lack of self-awareness of like, how am I really spending my time? What do my days really look like? That kind of thing. So
you got to put in the work for you and having a really good solid foundation before you can like truly be of service and helpful for others.
Yeah. And I'm not good at it. But this last year was hard on me because I didn't take care of me. And this year, everyone has a word of the year. So in 2025, mine was innocence. I wanted to go back to the 6-year-old Jeff and just laugh and play and just have fun because everything was so serious and everything was so stressful. And now this year, it's boundaries. It's self-imposed boundaries and the boundaries I allow people to cross on my time and my, you know, not like someone not agreeing with me. That's fine. That's healthy. Someone says, "Hey, Jeff, this is a dumb idea." That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about saying no more often. You know, people reaching out to me, "Hey, I want you to do this." And I just always do it. Or I want you to meet somebody. I get referrals all the time. I've just got to protect my time more because then I got more time to read a book. Like I stopped doing this last year. I didn't. I used to read. I used to get, well, there's a book here I was going to talk about today, and I'm not fully done with that yet. And it's like, and I'm in it. it's like, I think having boundaries is, and Emily's so right. It's like, you know, we all want to go out. You've had, obviously, we've all had personal things happen to us that we can share in a minute, but what good are we helping other people with their lives if our own lives are a mess? And I paid a very big toll the last year in not taking care of my mental health. And irony is that Brightn was doing well and we were gaining momentum and, things were going in the right direction for being a founder, but all that's for naught if you're not in good shape. And how many times do you see somebody who, takes their own life or something really bad and you're like, them? God, it looks like they have a good marriage. They have great kids. They're on TV all the time. They're actors, they're athletes. You're like, how can that, I'd love to be that guy. It's like, it always looks greener on the other side of the fence. But anyway, any other last comments on just taking care of yourself? Like, I'd like to know what you guys do. Like, I've shared what I do, meditate, exercise, read and write. Those are the things I really like to do. What are a couple of things you guys do that are like non-negotiables in your life to get you to where you can start being of service of other people?
Yeah, well, I'll just chime in. Like, I would say the hard part too about all of it is it's something only you can do. No one will do it for you. Mm-hmm. I think there was a quote, I don't know if it was from Ryan Holiday or if he attributed it to someone else, but either way, it was basically comparing it to like, it's like sweeping the front porch. Like, you have to do it every single day. Like, you do it once, but then the next day, guess what? The dust is back. The leaves are back. The dirt is back. If you stop doing it, it's just going to gather and gather and gather. But if you do it once, again, it's going to be there the next day. You have to show up every single day and put in the work. Like, that's how mental health is. You have to be consistent. I think if we're picking a word of the year, I think for this year, mine would be like consistency.
Love that.
Consistency within, whatever it is I'm trying to do, whether it's work, going to the gym, mental health, lowering my screen time, setting little rewards and trying to figure out how can I stay more consistent with what it is I want to do and just stack small wins over like a big period of time. Cause if you don't, then it stacks up. Like, to your point, like last year, like I also was a big reader, but now I'm not like reading as much because I have other priorities. And it's like, where did that stop? Why did that stop? Like, I would like to get back to that because that is something that I think is good to just check out from devices and like connect with your own thoughts and like, engage a part of your brain that's not being engaged as much as it used to be.
Mm-hmm. So we have boundaries and consistency. Do you guys have a word for the year? Or?
I haven't really thought about a word for the year, but I think I would say I would have to agree with the consistency part. And if it's just one little thing that we can work on, that's worth it to me. Cause I struggle cause I'm the all in or nothing. And so I'm like, I'm eating healthy today. I'm going to exercise. I'm going to, do all these things. And then I mess up once and I'm like, there goes the day, I'll try again. But I wanted to bring up too, that like, I know exercising will help me, will change my day around every single day. Yeah. I know that, but it's so hard to make myself do it on some days. And I think that mental health is still so new. Like, we know how to exercise, but we still don't do it. Yeah. We know it's good for us. We still don't do it. But like working on your mental health, I think that's really new for people. Like, what does it look like? How do you do it? Is it important to do it every day? I've learned with the Brightn journal, that journaling feature that Carson added in, like, oh my goodness, if I just do that every day too, it turns my day around. It turns so many bad moments where I get inside my own head. And like, I think my day is ruined. I think something's so horrible. And then I journal and then I'm like, oh, that was just a little problem. And I can have a better day because of it. But
you mentioned Ryan Holiday. I'll throw out James Clear, Atomic Habits, when he talks about the difference between motivation and discipline. It's like, everyone's motivated. I'm motivated to stay at a certain weight. For me, I'm motivated to go to work out. I'm motivated to run. I'm motivated to read Marcus Aurelius Meditations again. But I'm not disciplined. So motivation's out there. It's everyone. I mean, who isn't motivated, right? But the discipline is the key. And I think that's where I'm trying to figure that switch out for me is like, I'm always motivated. I'm never going to worry about me waking up going, I'm not motivated, but I'm not always disciplined. That's where my big weakness is in my day-to-day is the discipline. I got to get better at it.
Yeah, and that's interesting.
And that's where your background in the service really is good, I bet.
Where you talk about motivation, where I think, people think motivation just comes out of thin air. Like today I'm going to wake up, I'm going to be motivated, I'm going to go to, but motivation is a function, is an output of effort. Okay. Motivation doesn't create effort. I'm not going to wake up in the morning and hype myself up and watch this awesome NBA edited dunking video, Anthony Edwards dunking. I'll be like, now I'm motivated to go out and put in a good day's work. Yeah. It's not how it works.
Right.
It starts with actually getting up, dusting off the front door, making your bed.
Yep.
It's the little effort
Yeah.
that has this compounding effect that leads to motivation. And I think that's when you were kind of talking about mental health, you got to work on yourself. You got to start with the little things. Yeah, maybe it's not going to the gym today. Did you get outside and walk 100 feet and back? Like it's the little
things.
The effort.
It's always a little
bit of effort creates the motivation.
Yeah.
So I think that's like a big takeaway that has been enlightening for me lately was like, there are plenty of days that I don't feel motivated.
Yeah.
And then I tell myself, okay, that's fine if you're not motivated today, but what can you control?
Yeah.
What little thing can you control? What can you do can kind of get yourself going down the path. You do one thing and then you do a little, okay, now I have the motivation to go send this email. And now I have a motivation to go finish this project. And now I have a motivation to go pay that bill. And it's like, okay, now I look back on my day and reflect. And it's like, oh, I did do a handful of
domino.
things.
It's like you talked about
and now I'm more
all
motivated.
or nothing.
Yeah.
I see 10 emails. I don't want to open any of them. So I don't. But if I told myself, I'll do 3, it's better than doing 0.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll do 3, I'll respond, I'll do what I need to do. But I look at those emails and you go into panic mode. You're like, well, I know if I open them, there's 10 minutes I'm going to have to take out of my day to respond to whatever that person's going to request. And there's another one. Then when you're thinking about that, Slack goes off and all these, it's like, and I think there's definitely, I know I can get a lot better in my, what's called time management, but instead of having my time manage me, have me manage my time. But even when I block off time, I still cheat. Like I say, Emily and I sat down, we blocked off certain times of the day. And I noticed if Carson said, hey, I want to meet at 3 and I blocked off 3 to 4 for personal time, I would set an appointment with Carson at 3. I got to start saying, nope, I'm going to be a lot more protective of my time because then I can give more for everybody else. Any other?
I think we have to be easier on ourselves too. Like we have to reward the fact if you're trying to brush your teeth more, like just show up and brush one tooth, just floss like one area. Like that's still a win. And we still have to count these little wins, like making your beds a win. Like, okay, you have 10 emails, you replied to 1, that's a win. Celebrate that.
Yeah.
Like take the pressure off of like, oh, I didn't do all 10 emails. I'm a horrible person. I'm so unproductive. Like I'm the worst founder ever. Like that mindset, I think hurts us way more too. We have to like be a lot easier on ourselves, which is hard. I know I've struggled with that a lot too. Like trying to be easier with myself and like reward the small wins. So that way, like I am rewarding the consistency that I'm going for.
And I will say that sometimes we think that everything is catastrophic. Like if I don't get this thing out at the time I said it's end of the world. They're sitting around waiting for that email. No, they're not. They probably forgot you were going to email. They've got other things going on. And I remember a time when a couple of years ago, I was so overwhelmed and way behind on stuff. I just took everything I had and threw it in a box, cleaned off my desk, everything. Waited 24 hours and just took the first thing out of the box and just said, do, delegate, destroy. So if I picked it out of the box, I was either going to do it, I was going to delegate it, or I was going to throw it out. I wasn't going to shuffle it. And what I noticed was the stuff at the bottom I didn't get to for like 2 weeks. Nothing happened. I didn't lose any business, nothing. We over dramatize so much the impact negatively of things in our lives that 9 out of 10 times do not ever happen. And it's taken me a lot of years to realize that. So do I have a sense of urgency? Yeah, I want to reply and be respectful of people's time, but is it going to be the end of the world if I don't? No, it's not. Most people are not sitting around thinking about me or you. They're thinking about their own problems, their own marriage, their own bills, but we think everyone's sitting around thinking about us. And
still waiting on Jeff to reply.
Right. They're not. They're just, they're not. They're not. And then when you do reply, you notice that normally the tone is just, I think we spend most of our time just ruminating over things that never happen. And I'm as guilty as anybody,
And I think like I had a big fear growing up too of like public speaking, like in school and like, oh, like I don't want to ask this girl out because I'm afraid of rejection. But I think the thing that helped me a lot too is like when they go to bed at night, like you're not what's in their head.
Right.
For anyone. So I think just like always reminding
they're thinking,
myself,
why
like,
isn't Tice asking me out?
Yeah. Like if I'm nervous about this podcast or this roundtable, it's like by the end of tonight, like no one's going to be thinking about me or what I said or if I slipped up. So that's also true too, is just like keeping that in mind. And I'll say too, I think I like the fact that guided journaling offers something regular journaling doesn't, in the fact that it kind of reminds you of these things. Because when you journal, like, it's good to get your thoughts out on paper, but it's also nice for something to say, hey, this is normal. Hey, this ain't that serious.
Yeah.
You can put off the email until tomorrow, go take a walk, do all these things. And like having something to be like a bouncing board for the thoughts you are going through is like a nice change of pace from like regular journaling where you're kind of spiraling on the page, but there's nothing to say, hey, you're just spiraling, like take a deep breath, like it's all going to work out. So it's kind of nice having something there that can kind of serve that purpose and be like, it's not the end of the world. Like it's just an email or like, it's just one meeting. It's like, there's plenty more partnerships coming. Like one no is like not the end of the world.
Yeah. We've got a lot of really good feedback from customers too. That's been quite valuable. Especially the fact that even though it's AI, it's not a human behind the, me talking to you, there's a sense of like connectivity or belongingness, or just, you feels like you're having a conversation, even though you're not. There's something in that we're finding that's not hurting people's mental health. Like everything's reported that AI is going to be the death nail. It's going to be the end of human contact. People are going to get more isolated. I'm like, I think we got to play this out a little bit longer before we make a judgment like that. Cause I think and we'll talk about this at our event coming up. Some of the reports coming back are that people actually feeling connected, like 3 times more connected than a group that wasn't using an app like Brightn, let's say. There's something in that. And that was shocking when we got the report back. That's like the first thing I saw was that's a pushback on everybody that's critical about apps, that they're going to make people more isolated and you're getting away from human connection. And I'm like, I'm not willing to concede that yet.
Why do you think people think that integrating AI into your day-to-day life is going to lead to more isolation?
I don't know. Why do you think? I mean, that's a good question.
I think because we kind of saw it with like social media and like different
like
messaging platforms and stuff, where people were like, I don't have to go home. I can just talk to people through, my gaming system or whatever, or Snapchat or that kind of thing. And we were just more connected than ever. But what I think the difference is with the journal is whenever I personally write in it, yes, I'm using it as a sounding board, but I also feel heard and understood.
Yeah.
And if I didn't have that moment, if I would have confided in someone and they shut me down or they were rude about it or something, that causes me to be like, I don't like people.
Yeah.
I want to stay away from everyone. I'll just like hunker down and I'll be by myself, but it's really helped me where, use it as a sounding board, whatever, and get those things off my chest. And then I'm like, oh, now I feel better. I want to go be around people again. It actually has helped me just open up a lot more and not, kind of cross people off if they were mean or something.
I feel like social media created, the most connected ecosystem of humans in our history.
Oh, yeah.
In the most disingenuous way.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
And that's the fundamental problem, because what I think with AI,
because the intentions weren't good.
The intentions were never good.
From the mothership, the people who came up with
from the
this
onset.
stuff.
If I had something to say, I wanted people to read it because they might find it funny, different, opinionated, polarizing. If you post pictures, it's only the best pictures, and you want, it's all gives kind of the viewer a false sense of reality.
Either the best or the worst. It's like the extremes on both ends.
And I think something with like AI allows individuals to be the most authentic versions really of themselves, because I can go to ChatGPT and say, I don't really know what I'm doing, but help me create this email, And it could be like my grammar could be wrong. I'm not worried about punctuation or anything. If I had this random thought in my head about a colleague or, of how to best respond to the situation.
You can stress test things.
And test it. And, the AI is going to be like, this is either a good approach, or have you thought about it like in this way or that way? And, I think the intention's different a little bit.
Well, I think some of the feedback we've gotten too are people are saying that they can confide in AI things they don't feel comfortable confiding in like another human because of the fear of judgment. And it's been like a good thing too, as far as like some of the pushback. Like I've started more frequently If I'm like having an argument with my girlfriend, for example, it's like, what if I run the situation through chat and get like another perspective? And it might be like, hey, take a step back, take a day, sleep on it. Do not say this. This is harsh. Or like, do not point fingers this way or this way. And it's like a really good check where maybe I wouldn't feel comfortable bringing that situation up to a human, but bringing it up to, an AI, it's kind of like, hey, like take a step back. But I think it's all about intention too. Like with Brightn, at least, I think the intention's in the right place for how we want to use this tool. I don't know if we can say the same for a lot of things. I know like a lot of the articles you see are like Grok is like doing child pornography and it's like, you can literally like prompt it to take a picture of a child and like take its clothes. Like it's really like horrendous. Like that's not a good use. So obviously that's going to be a bad rap for AI. And you see these clickbait articles where it's like someone with a wife and kids like proposed to its AI girlfriend. It's like those are like the clickbait things where it's like it does paint a picture that AI can be very bleak and very bad. But if there's guardrails, if there's things in place to kind of like prevent that and then focus on like the good intention products, then maybe it can be like an overall benefit to society.
For sure. I mean, it's not like, and we have our advisors too, who are very reputable and have some of the best experience that you could find, right? Clinical psychologists, neuroscientists, PhDs, like, you name it. And what I think is, interesting about AI is with the guardrails, like the intentions will always be true and pure and guiding you, and the output is always in the best interest of you. Like there's no like underlying, like if I see a therapist or like, I mean, it's just the capitalistic society that we live in. You sometimes are like, why is this doctor prescribing me this medicine? Do I really need this? Is there an ulterior motive here? And, you go see a therapist sometime and not every therapist you go to is going to be a home run. No. Sometimes like I've recently learned about this concept of splitting where you might be divulging or communicating things with your therapist and they might be like reaffirming things back to you, but are they, not always are their incentives most aligned because they want to obviously keep you as a patient, keep you coming back and want to, but they also they care about you. But, taking a stance that is always true and pure to the individual, regardless of any other like external biases, I think is one of the net positive things that AI has the ability to actually impact.
Yeah, I think the overreaching philosophical kind of challenge I've always thought of when I got into this 9 years ago was this idea that we are broken, like we need to be fixed. And it's always bothered me because it's like, I don't consider myself broken. I don't consider me needing to be fixed because, as you said, Emily, it's not linear. There's no mental health fight to win, right? You're just trying to have a better lived experience. You're trying to enjoy life better, be more at peace, have better relationships, because at the end of the day, we're all going to die. We're all going to have that. We're all going to be the other end of the call. Like I got twice. Someone's going to call and say, hey, did you hear about Jeff? He passed away. It's like, we have a limited amount of time. And if we spend all of our time thinking that we're damaged goods, like we're broken, we're fixed, and we have to get a pill or go see a therapist all the time or do all these things. And it's like, I think if we just kind of sit back and go back to a time when you just kind of looked at life and thought, this is the way it is. I'm okay. I'm right where I need to be in my life. Could I have a little bit more of this? Could I have a little bit less of this? Yeah. But if I'm never going to be happy where I'm at, I'm never going to reach any achievable destination of peace in my life because there's always going to be another mountain out there taller to climb. Always. I'm not saying don't have goals and aspirations, but there's got to be a balance between thinking you're trying to find happiness versus actually being at peace. And that's something I struggle with because I'm always thinking in blocks of time. I'm 50, I'll be 60 in April. So most of my peers are retiring. They're slowing down. They're golfing 5 days a week. They're buying another property. They're taking time off. It's like, so if I just kind of look at me, I'm at exactly where I need to be in my life. Seth and Prudence came in at a time when we all needed each other. They're no longer here. I'm not going to bring them back. But I can live an inspired life for others that when they, unfortunately deal with things. It doesn't have to be as severe as what I went through. But you know, you've had family members. I don't know too much about your family in regards to like people who've lost their lives to mental health, but it does change your perspective. And I'm not really too focused on achieving any specific mountain because I know I've done that, and there's always more. You're never satisfied. So I don't know if you guys have any thoughts on just trying to be a little bit more present in our lives, and one hand have goals and objectives, but also don't miss what you already have in front of you, which is a great life, you know, because it goes like that. I mean, you have a beautiful 2-year-old.
That's what I was going to talk about.
She will be 15 like next weekend. Trust me.
You just asked me if she was 2. I'm like, no, she's 19 months. We still have a little time here. But I think that has really changed my perspective on everything because you have this newborn and, you know, I was on maternity leave for 6 weeks and all of a sudden she's an infant. She's not a newborn anymore. And she's, you know, doing tummy time. And then she was walking, crawling. And I was like, I have to really focus on each of these moments because they're gone. Now she's saying sentences.
Yeah.
And that has been the biggest change really in my life, just seeing how fast everything goes. And I think as you get older too, you kind of notice that the years start going by faster, that kind of thing. So it's really changed my life to slow down. But I don't know if, you know, like you said, things happen for a reason and things always happen at a certain time for a reason. And I don't know if like I didn't have her, if I would have realized all of that, you know, and I became a parent later in my age and I don't know, it was just perfect timing. And now I see it. I didn't see it 10 years ago, you know, and I am like, I have younger cousins that have kids. They had got married, had kids way before me. And I was like, why not me? Or why haven't I found my person? And that kind of thing. And now it all makes sense. But I know those moments will go by really fast too. So just trying to, like you said, be present, take it all in, write it down so I can go back and remember it too.
Yeah, there's that having a kid it changes everything, you know, and it also gets you worried about their future, you know. It's like, what can we contribute as a Brightn team? So when she is 15, 16, 17, and God knows what problems will be out then, you know, I just go back to 10 years ago and what we didn't have, you know, because when Seth passed away, I don't think even TikTok was around. Maybe not even Instagram. I don't know, what did you guys have back in like
Facebook? Was
it Facebook or was there anything else? Because I wasn't on
Twitter.
That. Okay, Twitter.
Yeah, Twitter was big. Instagram was getting started, but I feel like it was early. It wasn't the powerhouse it was today. And TikTok wasn't a thing.
Yeah, and I have mixed feelings on all this stuff. I mean, I kind of watch what like banning alcohol did to people struggling with alcohol, and it made it substantially worse actually, because now it started being made underground, illegally, not tested, and people were dying from bad moonshine and bad alcohol more than they were just going and having it regulated and taxed and having it done correctly. So banning TikTok and banning these things, I don't know. I think there's a lot of discussions we have to have as a society if that's the route to go. You're not going to ban your way to good mental health. That's not going to happen. And I'm not saying that I think there's I don't know what the answer is. And a lot of my writing, I'm trying to just bring that stuff out of my head. It's like, what are some of the answers? And I'm just not a big fan of taking things away from people. I don't think like drugs should be legal. Like I should go to Casey's and buy, you know, meth if I want to buy it. But if I want to smoke pot or something, I should be able to know what I'm smoking. I mean, you know, and alcohol's done more damage to Americans than marijuana ever has or ever will. I don't smoke it, but I'm just saying if I did, I certainly want to know what's in it. I don't want to smoke a joint and have fentanyl in it and be dead because it's illegal. When alcohol, I can buy anything, you know, with alcohol, and alcohol has been a really bad. I don't know. I'm kind of rambling, but it's like I just philosophically think you can't ban your way to good mental health.
I think it all comes back to like that presence and that self-awareness. And what became really important to me, especially teaching, I was like, it comes down to parenting and talking to your kids and always being present and honest about your mistakes in your life and that kind of thing too. So yeah, it's just been number one for me. It's like, I'm proud of where Brightn is right now. And if Rose was old enough to use it, I would let her, she probably could figure it out at this point. But yeah, I mean, that's just, it's so important to me to always talk to her about stuff, because a lot of things, weren't talked about when I was a kid, and it's not because of my parents. It's just the way it was back then. And I'm just seeing more importance of that, the transparency and honesty. And I think that will help a lot.
There's a lot of being the oldest one in the group, I think I have a little bit of wisdom in this area, but I watched the way I grew up in the 70s, and you could go outside all day and never hear from you could just be 5 blocks over playing basketball till it got dark, and then you came home. Kids today can't go outside of their street without mom and dad just hovering over them. I think that is creating a very difficult childhood for kids when parents don't allow them to make mistakes, don't allow them to fail. I mean, I know there's always edge cases. Kids get abducted, all these terrible things, but that was around in the 70s too. We just didn't hear about it. I mean, you could buy milk with the pictures of kids that were lost, the milk carton kids, they called them. But today it's like parents are not allowing their kids to be a kid, to go out in the woods, build a fort, fall out of the tree, break your arm. And now it's like you see these parents and just hovering on these kids. They're at every single sporting event. And I did that too with the boys. And it's like, you smothering them, let them be a kid, and that'd be my only advice to young parents is, and it's hard. It's hard. But my wife was 9 years younger than me. And I remember when the boys were little, we lived at the top of the hill and the bus would come at the bottom of the hill. But I remember when I was growing up, we would walk through the woods and stuff to go to Mark Twain Elementary School, and my wife would drive the boys 200 feet to the bottom of the hill, drive them down, literally, and I'm always thinking, what am I missing here? My dad and mom never would have drove me down to the bottom. They would have said, get your stuff on, walk down the hill and stand by the bus and wait 20 minutes, I just didn't know if there's any future of parents maybe looking at things differently and letting kids just explore a little bit more. Yeah.
It's funny because when we were teaching, we told the parents, we said, let your child fail. You don't want to be doing their laundry when they're 30. But as a parent now, I'm so protective. So it's hard. I don't know the answer, but I understand the protectiveness, and maybe it's like you said, we are so connected everywhere, and you hear all these bad stories. So you think it's a lot worse than maybe it is.
Yeah, I don't know why I got off on that tangent, but you mentioned being at home. It all starts at home. Mm-hmm. And that's what made me think about parenting. If you want to head off these, I won't name names, but there's someone in my circle that has kids, and she's at our house quite a bit, and she's younger. She's 14. I don't think I've ever seen her not with her phone, ever, talking like this. Everything's phone out, watching TV, phone out, and it's hard to even have a conversation with her. And I'm thinking, man, these kids are doomed. They're just doomed. And it's not bad parenting. The parents are both working and stuff. It's why are kids drawn to that as their way to do anything? Why are the phones so important? And why aren't they outside playing and making snowmen and just doing things? I don't know. Maybe that's never going to come back. I don't know.
Probably the peer pressure of just every other kid's doing it. I remember Carson and I, Seth, we grew up where cell phones just started.
You were just on the pivot.
Yeah.
You were just on the pivot.
Still. Yeah. We had banter phones. The iPhone was not quite out yet. But I remember when your peers started getting something, it's why don't I have that? Why ain't I the cool kid that has a cell phone that can text or call someone? I'm still using my house phone. I have to ask my parents for permission to call someone. And yeah, these younger generations don't get that, but I'm sure they're seeing all their peers have phones, have Instagrams, have TikTok. Oh, look at this person who is TikTok famous before leaving high school. It's I know that could be me. Why ain't that me? And so I think a lot of it's comparison. And at that age, it's very easy to do because I guess that's how you learn in life, by observing, paying attention. What are other people doing? That's kind of how you learn and absorb. So yeah, I don't know how you fix it. I mean, you can do what you can do as a parent. I'm not a parent. But that'd be a big fear of mine. I have a dog, and she already stresses me out. Like going to the vet is the worst experience ever. I hate it. Like I can't even imagine having like a human child and like the fear and like all the stuff. Like I would be terrified to let them break their arm. You kidding me? Like that's the last thing I would want. But to your point, I do think that is part of life. It's part of the journey. Like we have to go through this journey. We have to suffer. I think that's part of what makes this existence special, you know, is that we do suffer and survive and grow. And so that's part of what we have to
That's how you build resilience. It's like, I think one of the problems with Gen Z today is that everything's a catastrophe. Everything's end of the world. I didn't get a job, end of the world. Somebody said no to me, end of the world. It's like,
I got the job and it's horrible, end of the world.
Yeah. It's like, because they've never had anything really catastrophic. Like my two boys, on the other hand, they've lost a brother, they've lost a mom. You know, my mom just died a couple years ago, and my dad's still alive. I can't even imagine what it's like to not have a mom. Ian and Roman will never have a mom the rest of their life. It's like, I don't know your situation, but your mom's still around, and I don't know.
Both my parents.
Yeah. It's like, that's criminal. Mm-hmm. That is effing criminal. And it's all because addiction and substance abuse and mental health, or they'd both be here, you know, and Seth being a dad. It's like, I think about Brightn. Brightn will never know her dad, never have the worst fight, never have the best moment, never have a vacation, never learn how to fish, learn how to golf, learn how to play basketball with her dad. I mean, that's not right. That's not fair. And again, that could have been prevented had Seth made better choices, which goes back to him having self-love, self-care. It all goes back to the simple things we started this conversation with about making good choices with your body and your mind and who you hang out with and all those things. And that's why I said early on, I think we need to go back. We don't need more labels, more diagnosis, more. I think we need to just go back to simpler times. It's going to be hard to do because attention has been hijacked. No one has simple times anymore because no one can just sit. I mean, if I asked a Gen Zer right now to go try and meditate for 30 minutes, good luck with that. Just monkey mind flying.
Then make it a minute and be like, am I done?
I can do it for an hour and literally just sit there and, you know, just for an hour, you know, and it's very relaxing. But you ask young people to do it and they're like terrified of it. Why? They're terrified of themselves. That's what they're terrified. They're terrified of their mind because they're afraid that mind's going to start telling them, jump off the ledge, do all these mean things. Like, no, you need to have that conversation or at least listen to your thoughts. You don't have to necessarily talk to your thoughts, but you should definitely listen to them. You know,
when we talk about like banning things, I think one thing we need more of in society is like destigmatizing these struggles and like we need more resources for helping with these things. Because for like a very specific example, like I'm big into like dance music and stuff. So I go to like raves and like festivals, and obviously
are we going to see some moves?
No, but obviously, like, you know, substances is something there, and like the threat of things like fentanyl are ever present at these things. And I was talking to someone recently, and a lot of what happens if someone takes something that they shouldn't, like let's say it is fentanyl, for example, because of the stigma, because of the fear around like, oh, this is an illegal narcotic, like I'm doing something I shouldn't be doing. They don't want to get the help. They're afraid of getting the help. People would rather like die because of something than get the help because of the stigma around it. Yeah. And so I think if we can remove the stigma and like add more resources to be like, hey, you're human. It's okay. These things happen. You're not in trouble. We're just here to help. That would be a big pivot, whether it's alcoholism, whether it's weed, whether it's any other substance, whether there's a bunch of addictions, gambling, you know, there's so many things. We can remove the stigma and be like, hey, here's resources and push that. I think that would be a netter gain for all of human, you know, existence.
I remember after Seth passed away, I'd never heard of fentanyl, and I was very quickly having to learn about it. You know, I heard of heroin and stuff like that, but never heard fentanyl. And I heard about this thing called fentanyl test strips. Like, holy crap, you could test the fentanyl before you ingested it, and it would tell you if it had, you know, you could test your heroin, let's say, and see if it had fentanyl in it. Why wouldn't you do that? Well, then all the so-called like experts would say, well, that's encouraging drug use. And I'm like, that is the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. You'd rather be worried about encouraging drug use, or Seth could have tested his heroin that day. Now, he may still have done it. A lot of addicts will tell you, if I know there's fentanyl, it's not going to stop me from doing it. Well, at least you know. There's a lot of people that die that didn't want to die. They just wanted to get high. That's all they wanted to do. but they died. And if Seth had the ability to test it, Iowa had fentanyl test strips illegal. They were drug paraphernalia. That's the ultimate stigma I can possibly see.
That's crazy.
Or providing someone who's using drugs to get a safe needle if they're gonna use. I mean, I'm not promoting it, but I'm promoting not dying. Right. That's what harm reduction is all about. One thing: preventing deaths. That's it. And if someone is choosing to do drugs, if they're going to buy it illegal because drugs are illegal, we encourage drunk drivers to get a designated driver. You see it on every ad. But drug users are encouraged to go use drugs alone in a hotel and die. That's bullshit. And I'm sorry, but it's my show. I guess I can swear, but it's like, I get so mad about that because until you've lost someone like that on specifically an overdose, your whole perspective will change, you know? And again, it's tough. I don't know what the answer is. I'm not encouraging drugs to be legal, like in Portugal and some other countries where it is legal. But I certainly think if you are in the grips of despair of addiction and you're trying to get sober, you're trying to get out, you're going to rehab, and you have that moment where you slip up and you have the ability to test what you're using and know if it has fentanyl, maybe the next day is your sober date. I mean, maybe October 5th of 2016 would have been the day Seth would have quit. Maybe he would have got so high on heroin, he woke up and thought, this is crazy. I'm not doing this ever again. Because December 24th of 17, I stopped drinking alcohol. Imagine if I would have died the day before. I mean, imagine if my alcohol had fentanyl in it. I never would have done any of this stuff. I never would have had the life I had. So I had a sober day. I quit drinking, but I had to get to that sober day. And all I'm saying with the drug system we're in today, it's not supportive of those people that are struggling. It's supportive of you should quit. And that's that. And then if you can't, come back and we'll help you. But you just need to toughen up and quit. And I just think we need to give people a little bit more time.
Yeah,
that's my thoughts on that.
We'll catch you and you go to jail or like whatever it is.
Yeah,
like
and Seth was in prison before he died. And we thought that was his rock bottom. I remember Prudence and I always saying, rock bottom, maybe it's drunk driving, maybe it's divorce, maybe it's, something. Prison has to be rock bottom, right? Well, it wasn't, and there's a lot of people that if you take the day of their death and you go back the preceding year or two, there was a lot of warning signs and, Seth had them all. But I just wonder if there was an opportunity if he could have tested his heroin that day. I don't know if it had made a difference. I don't know. But got off on a crazy tangent there. But that was what I wanted to do today, was just bring us all together. Because what you're seeing as we wrap up the show is the conversations that we have behind the scenes while we're trying to build this app, while we're trying to hit the metrics that the investors want to see and get the employers to understand the ROI we bring to the table, improving outcomes and lowering costs. I mean, those are direct benefits to an employer that's looking to partner with something like Brightn. But what the conversation was today is what we have on Zoom meetings a lot, or just lunches together when Carson and I talk about things. And it's important to know that there are really good companies out there with well intentions, but at the end of the day, this has to be a sustainable business as well. And that's what makes the stress in the founder and the mental health and the startup space is and that's what that book's all about. So before I get off the air, I wanted to talk about this book. My friend James Oliver wrote this book, Burn Bright, Not Out, Shattering the Silence Around Mental Health and Tech Startups. And I think it's an important book because obviously that's what Brightn is a tech startup. What I've realized is all sides of the fence of the tech startup world. You have the founders, co-founders, the CTOs, the chief marketing officers, the chief of staffs. We all have our own mental health issues. But then you take the other side of the fence, they have plenty of mental health issues as well. And so I think the ecosystem of the startup community could benefit by these conversations immensely. And that's what I think Brightn is trying to do, is be that company that drew a line in the sand and said, you know what, we can get to the end game, but we're going to do it by being authentic and genuine and vulnerable and share. And maybe we overshare. Maybe there's somebody watching this that feels like I'd rather back a company that's in the shadows a little bit more. that's fine. We're not going to be for everybody, but until you've lost somebody that you care about, I think you'll change your perspective. I think for me personally, the more we can have these conversations, I think the better opportunities we're going to give people to have improved lives. And time will tell. I'm still nervous about the fact we know so much and things are getting worse. That's the one thing that's stuck in, that I'm having a hard time resonating with, is I'm hoping that we can get Brightn to the point where we can add and then have improvement instead of adding and have people worse off. But time will tell. So any last words you guys have or something we didn't cover? But I'm very grateful for you guys being a part of this story and all the help and support and work we still have ahead of us.
I'm really glad we got to do this. This is the first time we all got to like sit in a room together and have these conversations. Mm-hmm. I mean, maybe we could, as like a final sign off question to the point of like the book and stuff, if we want to give the opportunity to like open up about like our own personal stories and like how Brightn sort of pertains to that, that could be a good way to sort of wrap things up.
Yeah. And I'll say because everyone that watches this knows mine. I've talked about Seth and Prudence. So I'll save that. Which one of you three wants to start?
I'll just talk about what's been keeping me up at night lately is my students. There's so many of them that I think about that I was like, why didn't I stop to listen a little bit better? Why did, there was a lot of times where they were being forced to be put on medication and they were literally telling us, I don't like how this medication makes me feel. We're like, but you pay attention in class. And now I just look at it and I'm like, what was I doing? And so, I don't know. Like,
do you keep up with some of them? I mean,
some of their parents were friends, but there are some that lately I've been really wanting to reach out and see if I can connect with them and, see how they're doing, that kind of thing. But, I just think about that time and I was like, that's when I was at my worst too. And all the bad decisions that I had made at that time. I was a terrible friend, I feel like, to a lot of people, but I was struggling and I was just trying to make it to the next day and never really stopping to like reflect. And that's why I'm so thankful for this job, really, because if there is a time I'm having a problem, Jeff will be like, how are you doing today? And I'm like, well, and then he leans in and he's like ready for it. And he always takes the time to listen to that. Yeah.
It's normally like me too.
Yeah. Or I mean, Carson will send me a text. I'm worried about this, something like that. I love that we just have that open atmosphere of just checking in on each other and having these honest conversations, even though they're hard.
I mean, for me, what kind of threw me into this is like, I come from a family that doesn't talk about our mental health problems. And in 2020, my godfather, my uncle, who was my role model growing up, took his own life. And as a family, that was something that was a really challenging moment because, he was everything that my brother and I aspired to be. Mm-hmm. Super successful, amazing wife, life, awesome job, in shape. But
checked all the boxes.
Checked all the boxes.
Which a lot of them do.
Yeah.
By the way.
And, we have a theory as to like how it started, but long story short, he had battled silent depression for 10 years and you would have never known it. That was our family. And talk about our mental health problems. And he always put on this face, like he was always funny to be around and stuff. And there were moments where we knew he was slipping, but his ego was too high to go and get the help.
Yeah.
And when it was pretty much too late, I just think of and why I'm so passionate about what I'm building today with Brightn and reflective journaling. If he just had the opportunity to go somewhere, put his thoughts down on paper, could that have prevented, could an intervention like that have prevented, a permanent split-second decision?
And that's what a lot of times they are. Split-second, irreversible decisions.
And how I dealt with it was equally another story of what not to do in the playbook. After he took his life, I dealt with it the wrong way. I abused my prescription medicines that, you know, I was on Adderall, doubled, tripled that up. You know, looked to alcohol to help me sleep better. Cause when I was taking too much stimulants, I wasn't sleeping at night. So then, you know, and then my doctor was like, "Oh, you're probably a little anxious and depressed." And you're like, "Oh, you don't say." So then he prescribed me some SSRI.
Yeah.
And we know that like with major mental health medications, there's about a 50% chance that it's going to work the first time you go onto it.
Half, huh? Wow.
And then to make matters worse, you have to take that mental health medication for 8 to 12 weeks to establish an appropriate baseline. So when he prescribed me this SSRI to address my own issues, I wasn't really forthcoming about all the other stuff I was doing. Right?
I don't think most people are.
Well, let me tell you, I was in the camp of it not working when I went on the SSRI. It actually led to this psychotic break, and not a lot of people know this about me, but it actually caused me to have this manic sort of psychotic episode that resulted in me. It's kind of crazy. I remember it vividly 5 years ago, exactly when I was going through this experience of this manic sort of episode. I felt like, you know, like the CIA had this like secret job that I had to go out and do in order to like get this awesome job.
Yeah.
And I took my dad's car, driving a Lexus, drove it to Amana. I thought I was following someone, wasn't following anyone. It was just me having this episode. And I ended up totaling the car. And I thought I did, and I thought I was doing what I was supposed to be doing. And then from there, I left my phone in the car, dead. And I ended up, I had like a trash bag, 5-gallon trash. Yeah. And I was just on the side of the road picking up trash to about midnight. No one knew I was doing it. No one knew why. And
you have
why I
very
was doing it.
vivid memories of this?
Vivid memory.
That's
I remember
amazing.
Exactly. And I felt like I was being punished a little bit. Like, oh, you failed your interview, and now you have to punish because it was, it's common in the military that if you didn't do what you were supposed to do, they would punish you. So I felt like I was being punished to some degree. So I was just kind of proactively doing community service. And by the time that the police showed up, I had a full 5-gallon bag of
They give you any points
trash.
for that?
You got no points. But I ended up having to stay 3 days in a psych hospital.
How is it hard to talk about this, Carson?
I mean, it's 5 years ago.
I know.
So it's not.
But you've shared it with me. And
I think people will I mean, it's tough to kind of talk about, but I think me being vulnerable with my story, not a lot of people have experienced the level of, hey, and at the time, when the police showed up, I recognized I was not in the right state of mind. And when I saw how scared my mom was, that's when I was like, okay, I'm going to go get some help for a few days, check out. I was taking too many things I wasn't supposed to be doing. We had a major, dealing with the grief of losing someone that you looked up to was really, really painful. And I kind of just acknowledged I was doing a very bad job of it. So,
but what a lesson you've learned from that, right?
Man,
I mean, So it's like trying to tell people about this stuff. It's like these are check engine light things going on in your life. And I've had them too, and you've had them, and I'm sure you have too, Tice, where I don't think anyone hears that story. I know I don't, Carson, and think any less. I can relate. I'm thinking about what I've been through and things that people don't know in my life that I've shared plenty. But I think that takes a tremendous amount of courage to do. And I think someone who watches you tell that story, if you're not just replaying things in your own life at the same time, and that's what I was doing when you were telling that story. I was thinking about sitting in my closet with that gun in my hand, I mean, I was replaying that moment because that's stuck in my head too. Like when I wanted to kill myself, So
and it was funny, like when I was having my psychotic break, there were instances where my family thought I might have been suicidal because they were like, Carson, why are you putting a pocket knife next to your bed at night? Right. Never done that. I never had that behavior. So
were you though? I mean,
I don't think that I would have done it, like actually went through with it. But I think
knowing that you could,
knowing that I could, or
that
the
you're
thought
out.
of that. I vividly remember when I was having this event, sitting down with my brother, because the tragedy in this is 10 years prior to Greg actually being successful, Cameron had found him in a hotel room.
I remember you telling me
just
that.
randomly driving by.
And Cameron's your little brother.
This wasn't the first time. He had actually done it in the past where he had made an attempt to do it. He got some horse tranquilizer or something in Mexico illegally. And Cameron was driving by 10 years ago, and he saw Greg's car outside, and he goes, "That's Greg's car." Goes inside. They wouldn't let him in because you can't just let people into had to call the police and stuff. By the time that they got there, Greg was having breaths every like 60 seconds. He was almost dead. And the paramedics basically said if he would have been 3 minutes later, he would have been gone. That caused, Greg was in a coma for 6 months following that, but Cameron was the one that saved his life.
Wow.
But
and just the impact on Cameron too, the rest of his life too.
That impact was obviously, so when Greg was actually successful with his, the devastation that had on my brother and I was so bad. It was like, it would be, because you go through this whirlwind of emotions, of anger, of
guilt,
sad, of guilt. What could I have done better? And you kind of blame yourself. But I think for me, it was knowing that like, I need to be the leader for my brother, kind of thing, right? Like I would never want to do that and put my brother through that situation again. So the thought of me ever having like to do so.
You've seen collateral damage, what it does in a family. It's a
non-negotiable.
Right.
I just attribute suicide to selfishness.
Yeah. It's a tough topic, but not having it, the conversations, the tougher, that's tougher. That's harder on everybody. But, that's one of the things I really like about what we're doing at Brightn is that we can talk about these things. And, a lot of companies, I shudder to think how many companies would have this open conversation with their key people. It's just not happening because of the stigma that we talked about.
I actually remember the first time you did share that story with us, and you were ashamed, very ashamed, and you were reluctant to share with us. And I just think about like all the growth and everything that's happened since then. And, just anyone who is keeping it all in, it is normal to not want to share at the beginning and not to have those conversations, but it's freeing to do so. And then like realizing there's a lot of people not judging you. They're actually thinking about, oh man, I did something similar. Like,
cause we all have a Seth or a Greg or a Prudence in our family. And we're always kind of hoping we never get the same calls that we got. And most people don't, but there's still a lot of devastation in families without somebody dying.
Right.
We were going through a lot of problems before Seth passed away. I was an alcoholic and I had a gambling problem in my 30s. And so all that stuff kind of came to the surface after he died. It was like all the walls came down. Like, well, I thought you guys had the perfect family. No, nobody has a perfect family. So we presented to the public, but behind the scenes, it was constant putting out fires until there wasn't a fire to put out anymore. And that's unfortunately what happened. But most families watching this aren't going to have what happened in our families.
But everyone probably has some crazy thoughts.
Oh, yeah.
Right? There's always something that everyone's thinking like, am I crazy for thinking that thought kind of thing? And, I think that's what makes our app so powerful. This idea of like reflective journaling and using AI to help bring the best version of you out and help you live in alignment with your values and your beliefs. And that's something that I think our technology is something that's very powerful because we're starting to get the efficacy data back that says, hey, everyone has crazy thoughts. And when you want to put your thoughts into somewhere, there's actually like improvements in outcomes that this can actually lead to. And one of the sort of preliminary results that we are seeing from our first clinical trial, which is really encouraging, is users reporting 50 to 60% less symptoms in anxiety and depression as measured by, the PHQ-9s and GAD assessments on
better
clinical
sleep.
Diagnosis, better sleep, more consistent sleep. And I think stuff like that, it just reiterates that, making these tools and these resources available to people for when you want to use it, can have a really net positive effect on our society.
And there's still a massive challenge ahead of us to make people understand that like the Brightn app isn't going to come into your life and solve any problem you're having. It's going to help you navigate through those difficult times. It's like, this isn't an end all be all. This isn't a magic pill. And no app is, and nothing really is a magic pill, because mental health, I mean, you're always one phone call away. I mean, I could think right now, I got everything going good in my life. I could get a call in the next 15 minutes. It would change everything again. And so how am I going to deal with that? Is it like, now I give up because it's another bad? It's like, no, it's like, that's life. It's just, it doesn't always come at convenient times. And a lot of times bad news comes at the times when you're really having a really good life. Things are really good. You're sitting there basking in your successes, and then that call comes, and then you're kind of like back. And so I think I'll end it with this, and then we can, if you guys have any last words, but I think what we're trying to do at Brightn is to arm people with coping mechanism, the skill set, the mindset, the reframing ability, look at life a little bit differently, instead of repressing or regressing or avoiding conversations you should be having in the mirror with yourself first. And then from there, take that to your workplace, take it to your team, your coach, or take it to your spouse or your kids. But if we can all focus on righting our own ships first, I think at that point, it's the dominoes start falling in the right direction. And that's what I still hang out. Am I nervous? Am I worried? Absolutely. Yeah, I'm worried for Gen Z and Generation Alpha, for the world that they're going to inherit, and how can we build it to be supportive of the struggles that they're going to have growing up, the struggles that we don't even know right now. I mean, like AI is only 3 years old. I mean, this wasn't even coming up 5 years ago. So with that, anybody have any parting words of wisdom, or put a bow tie on it and wrap it up? This is probably my longest podcast ever. So
I would just say to anyone, it's like, the reason we share these stories and have these conversations is like spread the message, like you're not alone. Whatever struggles you face, like it's the human experience. So like, there are tools out there, there are resources out there. It doesn't have to be Brightn, but there's plenty of places in that, you're not alone in whatever you're going through, and that there is help out there, and that things do get better eventually. You just got to sweep your porch every single day.
I like that.
But yeah, that'd be my parting words.
Sweep your porch. I like that.
Jeff, you actually had a quote that I was trying to think of too. Like, you say something along the lines of like surviving your worst day. What was that quote?
That you've survived 100% of your worst days. What makes you think you can't survive the next? I mean, we're all batting 100% right now because we're here.
That's Hall of Fame worthy.
Yeah, I mean, in every sport. I mean, 500. Batting 500 in baseball gets you 400. But yeah, so I mean, it's like you don't have to be perfect. You just have to get to tomorrow. I mean, that's all that this whole thing's about, and preferably not in survival mode. You want to be having more wins and losses, have a net positive every day. But yeah, I do like that perspective that, we made it to today. We showed up, we're here. Everything yesterday and beyond is a memory, and we got to focus on now and tomorrow. So any last parting words?
Can end with your quote. Purpose becomes passion when it's personal.
Yeah. And I like that, because passion and purpose are hard to figure out how they apply to you, but it's easier if you find something personal and then you just attach yourself to it. It could be suicide awareness, could be Alzheimer's research, could be breast cancer, anything that you have a personal vested, as I say, dog in the hunt. For me, it's obviously substance abuse and addiction is close to my heart. And then, I guess substance use and addiction would cover both of them. Well, with that, we'll wrap for today. Thanks for everyone's time. Emily, Carson, Tice. It's great to have everyone here. We've got some fun events coming up in the next couple days to get everyone together. But just my parting thoughts would be this. You are exactly where you need to be in your life right now. No matter if you think you're behind the 8 ball, you're probably not thinking you're ahead. Most of us probably think we're behind. but you're right where you need to be strategically in your life. You made it to today. 99.999% of all humans that have ever lived are dead. So you're in pretty rare company to be. Just being alive is a gift. Is it going to be easy? No. Is it going to be tough? Yeah. But just know that none of us are going to get out of here alive. We're all in this together. And it's all about trying to make the human experience more enjoyable, more fun, and bring people up. There's enough of society bringing people down. Do your little things. Do one thing per day. Maybe sweep your porch or
help love. Just spread love.
Just help people. Just one thing. It doesn't have to be anything huge. It could be, I don't know. You could be at line and pay for someone's groceries behind you. Just don't say anything. Just do it and leave. Get in your car and go.
Even a small compliment. Like I feel like someone will comment like a hat or like my shoes or something, like that little thing like sticks with me all day. It's like, wow, what a nice gesture. So there's like very little things you can do in your daily life that impact someone for the greater good, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. It all adds up. So thank you for your time, everybody. And keep living undeterred, and let's brighten lives together. Thank you.